May I request the panelists for the next session to step up on the dais? Mr. Uttam Bagri and Mr. Rajiv Choksey will be conducting this part of the session. The panelists are Mr. Sunil Singhania, founder, Abakkus Asset Management Limited; Mr. Pranav Haridasan, Managing Director and CEO, Axis Securities; and Mr. Dhiraj Relli, Managing Director and CEO, HDFC Securities. Starting with Uttam. Uttam is, of course, Uttam. He's the alter ego of BSE Brokers Forum, third generation broker, director of 62-year-old BCB Group, a well-established financial services organization. He holds a bachelor's degree in commerce and a postgraduate diploma from IIM Ahmedabad, which you would have already heard. He has served as a trading member, representative on the board of BSE Limited from the period 2003 to 2005, 2010 to 12. Uttam has been an active member of several key committees constituted by MII, SEBI, contributing to the development, governance of capital markets. Actually, this introduction does not do justice to Uttam. He has been doing a lot more work, and I hardly need repeat it. Next up, we have Rajiv Choksey, who is an very active socially. He has been heading KR Choksey, an investment firm for over 5 decades. Rajiv ji, he's purposely asked me to keep his introduction very short. I was pre-warned. Mr. Sunil Singhania, founder Abakkus. Sunil Singhania is a CFA, founder of Abakkus Asset Management Limited, which is already managing assets to the tune of 21,000 crores. Is this figure correct, sir? Or it's... which is why I thought that this is quite not the correct figure. 40,000 crores is what the current figure is. He has led Reliance Mutual Fund equity schemes and rated to be amongst the best. Reliance Growth Fund grew over 100 times in less than 22 years under Sunilji's leadership. He managed assets of almost 80,000 crores in Indian equities. He was rated best fund manager by Outlook Business in 2016-17 over a 10-year time frame. He's also the first individual from India to have been elected as a member of CFA Institute Board of Governors and served as governor for 6 years from 2013 to 19. A graduate in commerce from Bombay University, completed his chartered accountancy from Delhi with an all India rank, and he has earned the right to use CFA designation conferred by CFA Institute. Next up, we have Mr. Pranav Haridasan, MD and CEO, Axis Securities. Pranavji currently leads Axis Securities as MD and CEO. Over the past 2 years, he has spearheaded a strong turnaround, doubling revenue, scaling profitability, revamping the digital stack, and driving one of the fastest growing PMS businesses in the industry. Pranavji began his career as a fixed income trader and portfolio manager. He holds an MBA from ISB Hyderabad and finance degree from Christ University. He is passionate about education, social impact, serving on boards of learning initiatives, and teaches at BIT School of Management. Next, we have Mr. Dhiraj Relli, Managing Director and CEO, HDFC Securities. Mr. Relli leads HDFC Securities, one of India's most trusted financial services brands, driving its evolution into a diversified financial services powerhouse. With over 3 decades of experience, Mr. Relli has cultivated a profound understanding of capital market investments and banking and financial landscape. Before joining HDFC Securities, he served as Senior Executive Vice President and Head of Branch Banking at HDFC Bank, which saw a network of over 800 branches. A BCom honors graduate from Delhi University, Mr. Relli is a qualified chartered accountant, and he's done advanced management programs at the IIM Bangalore. With this, I hand over the floor to Uttam and Rajiv ji.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you, dearest panelists. We have time, and it's a good evening I hope, good afternoon actually. खाना ठीक था everyone? Hopefully. It was all, अच्छा खराब हुआ तो अनूप भाई का, अच्छा हुआ तो मुझे बताओ. Anyways, so this is the only panel session for the day. Would love it to be interactive. I had prepared a list of questions and given it to the panelists. I spoke to them, what do you think? Well, हम पढ़ा भी नहीं है. पूछ लेना हम बता देंगे. So that is the kind of domain expertise everybody has come. ये भाई तू क्या पूछ लेगा जो मुझे नहीं पता. So I really love that attitude. So probably I'll change the questions which I had prepared as the day flows. So I had some series of questions, but I think I will start with our favorite question, which is for us as a broker. So the audience is mostly advisors, brokers, all the domain guys. So hopefully एक अलग level of conversation करेंगे. And we'll also have a Q&A from members. Feel free to ask. We'll have some Q&A session. This just an additional thing. This is Rajiv Bhai's first panel. We've kind of kidnapped him and made him part. We all know how deep his understanding of markets is. But then let's embarrass him a bit more today. So my favorite question, our favorite greeting to each other. Market क्या लगता है? All right, this is a it's a greeting, right? कि ये अपने बजाय का आदमी है तो यही सवाल पूछा जाएगा. So I think I'll start with this question. And Sunil ji, we have to start with you. So if I phrase the question like, and please don't stick to my question. You can go the tangential depending on how the situation goes. Ki, say in the next 3 to 5 years, if we talk about 2 or 3 sectors, which are expected to give a very decent risk-adjusted return. And what comes in your mind? What is something you would love to share with the audience?
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me on this panel. Very august gathering. Wishes for a very happy Diwali and a prosperous New Year in advance. So your first question, market kya lagta hai? I think it depends on what your horizon is, whether you're asking for market kya lagta hai on Monday or after 1 week or after 1 year. But I will just try to answer it in a very different way. I've been managing public money for like decades. And this question leads us to sometimes take decisions which might not be apt from a wealth creation perspective. So I think market is a reflection of economy. And as long as the economy is looking good and growing, I think you don't have to answer that question or ask that question. It is very obvious that markets are looking good. And again, being a very, I think grassrooted, simple person, at least I believe so, I always tend to tell and also introspect that as long as my view on my income going up in the next 5 years is positive, that means the economy is on a growth perspective, on a growth path. And if the economy is on the growth path, market will automatically be very positive. And I am very sure none of the people who are sitting here would believe that their income is going to be less after 5 years than what it is today. Anyone who believes that the income will be lower than what it is today? So I think if the answer is no, then markets will always look good. Yes, you will always have time frames and events which will cause economy to sometimes grow slower than expected. You will have events which are not entirely in your control, like the various geopolitical conflicts we had, including the India-Pakistan, the trade wars which are going on, the tariff issue, and so on and so forth. But markets are like cardiogram. As long as they are up and down, we are alive, and I think that is what all of us, I'm very sure, are cognizant of that. In terms of sectors, see, again, very, very difficult question, but I like to answer it in a very different manner. Ultimately, when you invest in equity, you are becoming a partner in the business. And you would like to become a partner in the business where you can see the business growing. So I would say that invest in companies where you believe that profit in the next 4 or 5 years is going to be 2 times of what it is today. In terms of sectors, it's very dynamic. Gone are the days where you could buy something for 30, 40, 50 years and forget about it. I'm very sure BSC has a 150-year history. And, even when I was a broker and I used to speak to people, I think you used to always give example के इसके पास 50 साल से हिंदुस्तान लीवर है और इसके पास 40 साल से ये है और इसके पास Colgate है and see, you know, कुछ नहीं किया तो इतना पैसा बन गया. I think it is relevant, but it is also very obvious that the way we work, the way we study, the way we shop, the way we consume, the way we entertain is completely changed. And therefore, one has to be a little bit more dynamic. At this point of time, if you ask me the sectors we are positive on, I think financials obviously is a big sector. But within the financials also, dynamics have changed. Earlier, financials used to be only banks. Then you had specialized NBFCs. Now you have non-fund-based financials. You have broking companies which are listed, asset management companies which are listed, wealth management companies which are listed, exchanges, depositories, life insurance companies, general insurance companies, a lot of these platform companies like Paytm, and now you'll have the Pine Labs of the world. These are all financials, So even within that, I think we will prefer the non-fund-based financials over fund-based financials. Fund-based financials are also decent. I think pharma is one other sector where we believe India has a lot of competitive edge. Metals we like, but it's a smaller sector. I think chemicals and the other smaller sectors we like. Discretionary consumption is only going to increase. Discretionary consumption we like. We are little value conscious, and therefore we don't have too many of these new age platform companies. But I think you can't ignore them for a long period of time, and particularly companies which have started to make profits on the unit side or unit economics have turned positive. I think just can't do away with it. Because, every day when you see, even today when I was having breakfast and my daughter said, I need sourdough bread, and it was not there, and she just ordered, and before the tea came, the sourdough bread was at the door. So I think we can't live with some of these platform companies. So I would say that we have to keep our eyes and ears open even for those kind of companies. Sorry, I've given you a very, very long answer.
I want to add one question to what Uttam said. As of today, all the dealing room talks about gold and silver. You think in future, in time to come, whenever new funds are launched, multi-asset funds are launched, or maybe balanced funds are launched, gold and silver will be part of those schemes? Yeah.
So I'm not a big believer in gold and silver, and I am very sure people must be hating me for that, because last 1 year return is 100%. But I always say this, See, I am a believer in investing in growing assets. When we invest in companies, those are growing assets. If you buy 100 grams of gold or silver today, after 20 years, it will be 100 grams. It's not going to grow, And therefore, the only way you make money is someone else comes and buys it higher from you. The other thing I always tell is, have anyone come across a fundamental report justifying gold and silver prices? A fundamental report. The only reasoning we get is demand is more than supply, central bank is buying, and obviously price is going up. The other thing is, yesterday silver touched $50. The last time it touched $50 was in 1980. So after 45 years, you got the price which was touched in 1980. We forget those kind of things. Obviously, from an India perspective, rupee has depreciated. तो आप बोल सकते हैं हाँ रुपये में तो मेरा 10 गुना हो गया. But 1980 में अगर आपने म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट किया होता तो 1000 गुना हो जाता था. Reliance Growth Fund is 400x in 30 years. So I think we have a recency bias. What has happened yesterday, we believe is going to happen tomorrow. Why were not people advocating gold and silver 1 year back? अगर तभी एडवोकेट करते हम सब इक्विटी बेच के गोल्ड और सिल्वर ले लेते थे ना. अब बढ़ने के बाद में एवरीवन इज एडवोकेटिंग. So I don't know, बढ़ सकता है. But the only thing I am saying is that there is no fundamental rationale which will convince me to buy gold and silver. Fortunately or unfortunately, we are Indians. मारवाड़ी हैं, बीवी भी है, बेटी भी है. Automatic gold आ ही जाता है. तो थोड़ा बहुत तो इन्वेस्टमेंट हो ही जाता है. But I will not put disproportionate amount of my financial savings into assets which I am buying only because I believe that the price is going to go up, because more people are going to buy rather than any fundamental basis.
So there are two things I loved what Sunil ji said. एक तो यहाँ पे किसी को भी लगता है कि 5 साल बाद आपका प्रॉफिट कम होने वाला है. So the profit of stock broking community or intermediaries is income minus expenses minus penalties. And given the recalibration, rationalization of penalties declared yesterday evening, and the love by all of us, I think profit to ठीक हो जाएगा. क्या कहते हो? That's on lighter vein. And दूसरा, I loved when you said कि financials अच्छा लगता है. हम सारे financials वाले हैं, बाजार वाले हैं, MIIs हैं, the broking firms हैं, AMCs हैं. Happy to hear that. So that music to our ears.
In fact, on a lighter note, BSE brokers, if they still retain their shareholding in BSE, would have made more money with that investment than they've ever made doing broking.
कईयों के दुखते रग पे हाथ रख दिया सर आपने. Anyways, moving to our broker friends in the panel. So, बाजार क्या लगता है? We are, of course, we can do advising as a incidental to our broking business. And some of us also give advice. ठीक है, तो for my question is frankly twofold. You could take it in any sequence, in any manner. कि clients क्या लगता है? ठीक है, the kind of behavior that we see in the clients, and when we look at derivatives, people went crazy. ठीक है, फिर 5 दिन है तो खोल रहे हैं, फिर कम हो रहा है, ये सब चल रहा है. That's curious. That's something, I don't know, when you look at your client base and client behavior, what's the feeling that we are getting? Second, the recency behavior, that every client walking into every broker's office, gold ETF, gold, silver, gold, shop shuru ho gaya. So what are you seeing, what are you feeling? In terms of investor behavior, even going ahead when retail algo previously was in a gray area. Now it is getting more clarified. All of us are preparing, our vendors are preparing to give retail algo to a client. So generally, what is your feel? Kya chal raha hai? I mean, it's a general question. You can take it in any way, in any direction.
Okay, I'll go first. So thank you very much for having me on the panel. Really lovely to be with all of you. Okay, I think for me, it's maybe not an answer that a lot of you expect, but I think generally speculative activities have history to it. So when you really go back and study history of the country over long periods of time, like we have historically been traders that were involved in trading historically for very, very long periods of time. So when people obviously pick up F&O, futures and options, etc. in certain parts and look at data in certain cuts, it may look like it's overdone, but I have a slightly different view. One, having been a trader for most of my career, I think it's very hard to see hedged products, one from one leg, and look at the overall P&L. Having said that, I know that in the retail community, it's still largely one leg, but it's perhaps not the right lens, one, to look at it that way. Second thing is, as all of you know, Dream11 potentially had more accounts than the demat accounts in India. So it's not like it will go from one pocket to another pocket, any excesses that's meant to happen. So to that extent, I'm always a believer that an institutional approach to trading, whether you call it speculation or you call it investing or you call it quantitative trading or you call it data-driven trading, whichever way you call it, an institutional method is always way better than, and there are opportunities that exist in the market today to be non-institutional, right? I'll give you one example. I think I was telling you offline. If you see the crypto markets last night, I'm not sure how many of you all looked up, but crypto markets got liquidated by $20 billion in 1 hour post-close yesterday, post-US market close yesterday, on the back of two tweets from Trump. The largest liquidation event we have seen before tonight was $2 billion. That also in a span of 24 hours, which was 9 months before. So in 9 months, we have moved from $2 billion potential liquidation event to $20 billion, 10 times in a matter of few hours, right? So I think largely speaking, these the speculative mindset is likely to stay. The recency bias will be even more, I think, to Sunil's point, because we've all become so short-sighted. And just the fact that you can buy that on Blinkit in 5 minutes or 3 minutes has made us even more as people that, that are looking for those returns. We're less patient, and we're likely to remain like that, especially the newer generation. I'm not sure how that is going to change, because every impulse of ours or especially because of the impact social media has had on us, is that we want things to happen immediately. So not surprised that when gold and silver is up as much as it is, everyone is going to chase it. And I think, therefore, the volatility that we'll see in the next few years is going to increase a lot more. The cardiograph will look wilder, but it'll continue, right? We all will learn to live with it. So yeah, so to that first question, is market? I mean, I think I'm just happier if things came through the institutional setup in markets with reasonable guardrails than it coming outside the markets. That's one. The second thing is, I think the retail has definitely matured a lot from what I see on trading behaviors on our platforms and on our desks. We have seen steady inflows in SIPs. We've continued to see them withstand, large drawdowns. I think there is a lot of maturity, and across tier 2, tier 3 towns as well, right? In the new age investors that are coming through the markets. It wasn't the case 10, 12 years ago. I remember every single time, and I spent a lot of my time on the institutional side of the business, there was always the feeling that if foreigners sold, domestic doesn't have the appetite to hold on for long. So it's only a matter of when and not, so that was the general mindset. I think that is completely flipped, which I think is a phenomenal success and resilience for a market like ours, which still has only 8 to 10% of investments in financial assets. So there's still room for it to grow. So I'm extremely bullish about the retail flow, retail mindset, retail ability to hold. But I'm also worried about the Gen Z's speculative, the patience levels that they will exhibit in the future, because that's just the way by design they're going to be less patient, less this thing, and wanting to see faster returns. And how do we educate them? How do we drive that? I think is a big responsibility we all have as a broking community.
To further add to this, with AI and fintech happening now everywhere, you think broking community will go for capital expenditure, or there will be a consolidation in the broking community?
It's a difficult question. I think for so long I've been thinking consolidation will happen. It hasn't happened. It's gone the other way. So, so I don't think I have an answer.
Everybody is holding BSC shares.
Yeah, so I wish consolidation happened, but that's not really played out, right? But I think to the first part of the question, at least my personal view is that I don't think technology costs are as high as it is made out to be, or at least what we thought it will be. Like if you asked me 2 years ago, the technology costs to build certain platforms, we have overestimated it than underestimated it, like when I look back. So yeah, and I think the costs are coming down significantly faster than we would have thought, a few months, a few years ago. So I think that curve is so sharp in terms of fall, and as technology adoption increases, I think it falls even faster. So yes, I think everyone will adopt technology, everyone will use AI, but the question really is, how do you build those guardrails, and how do you make sure that it's really, it's stringent? We are seeing today so much misuse of it as well. Like I read today in the newspapers, I think yesterday, that there was some report that was presented to the government by one of the larger companies, and they just used an LLM to print it out, and it ended up being wrong. So the problem is the validation around some of these things are not done as well as we should, and therefore lots more need to be done on the vertical integration layer on AI, and that's where we are really hoping that people put in more effort.
I love it when AI makes mistakes. We feel relevant. Yeah, Dhiraj, over to you. Your thoughts on this.
Good afternoon, one and all. Thank you for having me. I think I'm also privileged to be with the August panelists. It's a great moment for us to be here in the afternoon and seeing so many people present during the festive season and listening to our views. It's overwhelming for me and everyone. Market kya lagta hai? I think this is a broad question we started with. Uttam ji started with this question. It has many perspectives. Market, customers ko kya lagta hai? I think customers are bullish about the markets. That's getting reflected with the domestic flows we are receiving. So whether we have an expert view on market kya lagta hai, good, bad, ugly, but at large, investors are very confident and buoyant about the capital market ecosystem. That's getting absolutely reflected from the kind of flows we have been receiving in all possible asset classes. Question on recency bias of gold, silver. I totally agree with the Sunil's view that this is now that after gold and silver both have rallied in the last 1 year significantly, everyone started to looking that as more aggressively and now exploring options like ETFs, etc. It wasn't in the forefront for discussion at all when it comes to the advice or asset allocation, unfortunately. I disagree with Sunil that one should not look at these as an asset classes. I think in India, like we look at overall balanced meal as a thali, same way you should also look at various asset classes when it comes to investment, because people have their different risk appetite, different returns expectations, and different understandings of the various asset classes also. Not everybody is as savvy in equity as Sunil Bhai is. He's been veteran and knows in and out of the equities, and of course he can do justice to it, and he's been doing more than justice to the same. But for a common retail customers, middle class customers, HNIs, I think more diversified portfolio makes sense. Not at this juncture, because we already have we've seen that both asset classes have done really very well, and maybe in the mid to long term, short to mid term at least, we may not see further upside, or maybe it will get plateau, or maybe some corrections are there. From valuations point of view, market kya lagta hai? If I have to give you a technical answer, we are at a Goldilocks kind of scenario. So I don't see markets are going to go up more than 10%, and I don't see a downside risk of more than 10% as well. And I'll substantiate with the data. Last year, Nifty EPS was 1013. So if you look at the last year EPS, we are at about 25 multiples, but we always look at forward forward multiples. So this year, earning estimates are about 9%, 10% kind of earnings growth, which will take the EPS of Nifty to 1100. Now, if you multiply again 20 times to that, we are still at 20, that comes to a 22,000, and we are already at 25,000. We can also look at forward earnings for FY27, and that's where there is a significant hope that, and fortunately, unfortunately, all analyst community are always more bullish on the forward earnings. So the consensus estimate there is about 15 to 17% earning growth in the FY27. And if given an opportunity, I'll talk more about the earnings later. But if you look at that, I think that in FY27, we'll get the EPS of 1300 plus minus. So if you look at that, then we are at about 19 times of FY27 earnings. So to that extent, we see a 10-15% kind of upside in the market. So this was my technical answer on the market kya lagta hai, because already Sunil Bhai and Pranav has covered the details. Little bit on our consumer behavior. I've been in this industry for more than 3 decades on the distribution side, banking side, capital market side. So have had an opportunity to interact with institutional customers, retail customers, HNIs, family offices, and wide variety of customers. So I can give you the change in the behavior and the dynamics at the customer's level. See, 20-25 years ago, a very small fraction had stomach to navigate the volatility. Now, that fraction has become a much bigger. Now our investors and customers understand that when they come to the capital market, they are not coming for the short term. They also know and believe that the returns in the capital market and equity as an asset class won't be linear. So that's where they are doing SIPs. That's where they are bringing in more and more of their surplus into the equity as an asset class, and they know they will deal with the volatility. And that's where they are not even perturbed with the FPI's outflows. We've seen that FPIs have been relentlessly selling in our markets for last 12 to 18 months, whereas domestic flows have been strong, negating all possible outflows or negativity coming in from the either geopolitical skirmishes or through the FPI's outflows or any other negative events. So this is a very, very big change, and I believe that this change is on the cusp of exponential growth also. This is going to transform India. We will have a more flow of capital coming in, risk capital coming in for the growth of India. We need huge risk capital to invest in businesses. And I believe that, the retail has become a force to reckon with to provide this risk capital.
Dhiraj, as a part of the banking community, can I have your view on dollar? Since there is a lot of silver and gold is rising, so you think people prefer to have gold and silver as an asset class than holding dollar?
I think
and you think gold dollar is peaking out?
So gold and silver both actually made sense because of the rupee depreciation. We were at, if you own gold, let's say silver or gold about 40 years ago, we were at somewhere at about 4-5 rupees per dollar. So from there onwards, you're now at 90. So rupee depreciation itself has made asset more viable, if nothing more. So that way, and we believe that the rupee will continue to be depreciating 4-5% every 3 years. I don't think that this trend is going to reverse in hurry. So to that extent, I think that positive return in rupee terms will continue for silver and gold. Silver as a commodity has still more industrial use than the gold as a commodity. So to that extent, I think silver looks even better.
I think Dhiraj bhai mentioned about gold. Just to give a little bit of perspective, see, in the HNI community, obviously the allocation to gold as a percentage of total wealth is low. But if you only look at the overall country, there are reports in newspapers today that the gold in the hands of Indians has reached $3.8 trillion. I think it's a little overstated. Our calculation is around $2.5 trillion of gold Indians have. Indians own less than $1 trillion of equity. So I think we are already, as a nation, overexposed to gold compared to equity. Obviously, in the super HNI category, that allocation is lower. But in the masses, the allocation of our savings to gold is even now significantly higher than equity. And it's only gone up because of the price appreciation. So in a way, Indians are more smarter than all of us.
No, Sunil bhai, this was why people have been investing indirectly, directly in the gold, that gold as an asset class was easier for them to understand and had a use also in terms of not everyone is owning gold in the form of financial asset or even as, biscuits, etc.
So they are all saving enjoy kar rahe ho.
Yeah.
Saving enjoy kar rahe ho.
Yes. So to that extent, I think it has worked well for them. And this is what has changed in last 10-15 years. Now they have started to understand the equity as an asset class also. And I think everyone, exchanges, MIs, distribution community, brokers, and media, influencers, everyone has played a great role in ensuring that equity become a acceptable asset class.
So quickly, I'll ask the audience, if I can have a show of hands, how many brokers or advisors, market people have seen an unprecedented interest in gold assets from the clients in the last 1 year? हाथ उठाओ तो जजमेंट आता लगता है कि सो भी नहीं रहे. Quite a lot. Thank you so much. So yeah, gold is the flavor of the month. Crypto banned hai, so that's where we are. ठीक है sir. I'll move to the next series of questions. Frankly, this is something I ask myself. किस चीज़ का डर लगता है? All right. Most of the we anticipate certain things and then we solve for certain things. But if I ask you as panelists, as thinkers, this is a risk which I think exists, but not many people are talking about it. And if it hits you, it will hit you like crazy. All right? If there's something that comes in your mind कि ये ज़िंदगी में ये भी लफड़ा, for example, COVID. Okay, वो तो extreme black swan हो गया. किसी ने सोचा भी नहीं था ऐसा कुछ हो गया. अब COVID चले गया तो सोच भी नहीं सकते कि ऐसा कुछ हो सकता है. We all रात गई बात गई, short term span of attention, whatever you want to call it. But if I pick your brain and ask you, okay, everything is great, I've got it all planned, but these are the factors which I think sometimes I get up in the morning and say, boss, if this happens, बहुत लफड़ा हो जाएगा. If there's something that comes in your mind, which would unusual risk, normal सबको पता है कि war हो गया तो क्या होगा, nuclear bomb किसे डाल दिया तो क्या होगा. This is okay, it doesn't happen, may happen, whatever happen. If that's something which is not the Six Sigma, but something that can happen and which is likely to happen, and you often something happens, we say, yeah, strike in it, no, obvious after it happening. So anything I can pick your brains on, in any sequence.
So I think the biggest risk today we are carrying Trump tantrums only. We don't know which side of the bed he'll get up and what statement, what message he will give, and that what kind of impact that can have on the global markets. We've seen Pranav mention about the bitcoins. So that's one actually large risk. See, and risk associated with that also is that we've seen the global economy progressing in a very different fashion in last 30 years. And now with the protectionist trade policies, every single country is looking at their own interest only, whether it makes sense or doesn't make sense. Like MAGA to me is a very big risk, and if cascading impact of MAGA is make America great again and think only about America and leave the rest of the world. And if that is the mindset going to be there in almost all other large economies, that's where I see a bigger risk.
Yeah, no, I agree with Dhiraj. I think the biggest risk is that we built all of this on the back of globalization, and the risk that we can turn the tables on that is high risk. For me, what gives me the most sleepless nights is really risk management. I think in the last couple of years, on a lighter note, all the compliance stuff was, we just didn't know which way it will go and what are the new policies that will hit us. So it was always painful. But I think today, if you look at it, like on the equity side, I think the risk side has really improved dramatically in the last many years, thanks to the exchanges, the regulator, all of that. I think the margins are very strong in the system. At least those areas don't worry you as much. But look at commodities, for example, right? The exchange margins on most of the commodities are close to 7.5%. And the weights all moved up in the last few months. It's hard sometimes to think about, is that good enough? Are you well hedged? Are your risks under control? Because some of these asset classes are so much more volatile than we had been used to. And the risk management systems have been built historically and not so much based on predictive models. So I think some of these things are things that always keep you up. But I think one positive thing through all of this is that I think as systems and as institutions, we all have come to respect the regulatory environment so much more. And especially on our side, we have seen almost all the regulators. I remember in my early fixed income trading days, we always cursed every governor before every credit policy, right? But we all, in hindsight, we all realized everything that was built, those guardrails were really good for us in the future. So always as traders, you expect more and more, but in hindsight, you realize that the regulatory role is very different. So I think, for me, it will be risk management in these unprecedented times.
So, I think risks are a part of investing. And sometimes we, use volatility and risk as synonyms. So I would say that there is a lot of probability of volatility because everything which we all know, everyone knows. It's not that, with all due respect, everyone knows that Trump is, you can't predict. So I think incrementally, what will happen is that what Trump does will have lower and lower impact. So the first time when he talked about tariff in January, February, NASDAQ fell by 30% and the world got butchered. And now every incremental thing obviously has smaller and smaller impact. Obviously what he talked about 100% on China and all, again, is something which has come out of the blue. But anything which is known does not have too much of a volatility risk. You mentioned about COVID and all those things. See, again, you can't predict those things. So I think events which we don't expect are the events which cause major movement in the market. So whether it was Lehman or whether it was COVID and so on and so forth. Events which we already know don't have that much of an impact on the market. Having said that, I think we are at a stage where, as Dhiraj mentioned, we are not very cheap. And therefore, we have to start growing. So I think what we need to basically at least track is whether we are going to be back to that 13-14% profit growth or not. Because otherwise there's going to be an issue. The other risk which I see, I don't know whether it's a risk or not, every second person I meet is wanting to come out with an IPO, not invest in IPO. Wanting to come out with an IPO. Kitni company list ho gayi? Already out of 40,000 companies listed in the world, 6,000 are in India. And every day 3-4 more companies are getting listed. वो trader हो या कुछ भी हो, I think everyone is looking at coming out with an IPO. और मैं हरदम बोलता हूँ, boss, we all know Sholay is a great movie. चलो हमारे time की है, अभी तो बहुत young लोग हैं यहाँ पे. We are not going to see Sholay again and again. वो कोई शाहरुख खान की या सलमान खान की नई पिक्चर आती है, पता है बकवास है, फिर भी first day first show देखना है. Because there is something new in that, which is what is happening on the IPO front. So I think these are all smaller things. But on the other hand, you asked me about risk. Why are we not talking about what can go right? By nature, we Indians always try to spend too much time on what can go wrong. And we spend very less time on what can go right. और वो wrong का calculation में है ना, वो जो रह जाता है. We try to fine tune. कि ये हो गया तो क्या होगा, वो होगा तो क्या होगा, वो होगा तो क्या होगा. अभी देखो न्यूक्लियर वॉर होगा ना, तो आपका फिक्स्ड इनकम में है कि गोल्ड में है कि इक्विटी में है, वो पैसे का कुछ काम नहीं आने वाला है वो. या इंडिया पाकिस्तान का वॉर हो गया तो विच एवर एसेट क्लास यू आर इन, काम नहीं आने वाला. अगर जान ही नहीं बचेगी तो क्या होगा. तो आई थिंक वी ऑल्सो हैव टू नाउ स्टार्ट टू बेसिकली सी वॉट पॉजिटिव्स कैन हैपन. एंड आई थिंक एटलीस्ट फ्रॉम माई परस्पेक्टिव आई डोंट इन्वेस्ट ओवरसीज. सो ऑल द वेल्थ इज इन इंडिया. जो होगा यहाँ होगा. अच्छा हुआ था वो भी यहाँ हुआ. अगर कुछ आगे पीछे नहीं बना 1-2 साल रिटर्न तो ठीक है. लास्ट 1 year रिटर्न इज नॉट बीन मेड. बट overall as a country we are more wealthy than what we were, because everyone has some gold, everyone has some property, everyone has some fixed income. So I think we also have to start looking at that. The only one thing which is worrying, ये हमको तो बचपन से सिखाया गया है, जितनी कमाई है उससे कम खर्चा करो. बराबर है ना. अगर कमाई से ज़्यादा खर्चा करोगे तो आगे पीछे the end is not going to be good. So I think US is spending much more than what it is earning, and that's why it has a $37 trillion debt. Now at some point of time, वो फटेगा. But the thing is, whether it will happen in 6 months or 10 years, we don't know. I think for global financial market, that can be one risk. The only thing is the timing we are not sure, but that is very, very clearly, you have spent more than what you have earned. The confidence in your reserve currency is not that high what it used to be earlier. You have a very erratic leader, which not too many people in the world like. So I think that can be one thing which we need to track very closely.
Sunil, one more question for you. We talk about fintech, we talk about deep tech. Which sector you think? We observe that every 20 years the top companies evaporate and new companies come into picture. And you think which sector can lead the market by 2040 or 2050?
So on a lighter note, वो 2040 में पता चलेगा. पता नहीं चलेगा. See, as human beings, we are very flexible, we are very malleable, and we are very adjustable. एक पिक्चर थी, अगेन आई एम अ बिग बॉलीवुड फैन, पुराने पिक्चर भी देखता हूँ, नया दौर, दिलीप कुमार की. उसमें है ना एक गांव होता है और वो गांव में द ओनली प्रोफेशन इज तांगा चलाते हैं लोग. स्टेशन से गांव तक लोगों को लाते हैं, गांव से स्टेशन तक लेके जाते हैं, और फिर एक बस आती है तो सब तांगे वाले की नौकरी चली जाती है. वैसा भी हुआ है. आई थिंक इन द US ऑल्सो इट हैपेंड. ऑल द कार्ट्स गॉट रिप्लेस्ड विद कार्स. When computers were launched first time, all the PSUs went on strike. Okay, what will happen? Now you can't work with that because it will evolve. I think a lot of these things will come. There will be near-term disruptions. I think आपके business में आया ना. I remember my entry into equity markets happened only because NSE came into being. क्योंकि बीएसई में तो आप लोग घुसने ही नहीं देते थे. But if you see from 2.5% brokerage, now you are 20 rupees a trade brokerage, but you make more money than what you were making earlier. Because everything which comes leads to more efficiency and it leads to much higher growth across. So fintech will come, deep tech will come, AI will come. AI, the way we know it, it is entertainment. आपने फोटो डाल दिया और उसका वीडियो बन गया, आपने कुछ presentation बना दिया. But imagine, I was just talking, my son has come back from the US after 9 years. I was telling him, boss, मैं 30-35 साल से blood report निकालता हूँ. I have all the copies of blood report. बट कोई हार्ड कॉपी है, कोई सॉफ्ट कॉपी है. डॉक्टर के पास जाते हैं तो थोड़ी 30 साल का ब्लड रिपोर्ट लेके जाते हैं. बट इफ़ यू आर एबल टू जस्ट कैप्चर एवरीथिंग इन वन प्लेस, वो एआई आपको बता देगा यार कि ये आपका क्या चेंजेस हुआ है एंड यू नो व्हाट इज द रीजन फॉर दैट. सो एआई इज प्रोसेसिंग ऑफ डेटा, लार्ज सम्स ऑफ डेटा फास्ट. दैट इज एआई, you know. So I think a lot of these things one has to be aware of. One cannot be complacent and say मुझे इससे कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. But things will change. As you rightly said, sectors will change. There will be some sectors which are insulated from these technology. Like metal है तो metal ही है. Unless अभी बोलते हैं gold भी कोई laboratory में बना देगा तो पता नहीं, diamond तो बनने लग गया. Someone was telling me that now the price of gold is such that you can even explore on Mars. It has become viable, you know. So there will be always disruptions, so you have to be aware of it. But one thing is very clear, the way, as I said earlier, the way we are working, the way we are consuming is completely changed. I always say, but हम तो newspaper पढ़ते हैं, आज भी पढ़ते हैं. Moat is huge. If you have grown up reading Economic Times, still you read Economic Times, चाय गले से नहीं उतरती है. But the young guys are all shifting to the digital platform. So the revenues of newspapers have fallen. Same is the case with cars. India में 30-35 PE we get. Globally, BMW, Mercedes trade at 6-7 PE. Tesla trades at 200 PE because there's a threat of disruption. I think here also the brick and mortar retail might not get the same PE which maybe an online retail guy will get. So you have to continuously now keep on being aware of how your own behavior, how your own spending is changing. कुछ difficult नहीं है. 10 साल पहले महीने में अगर 50,000 रुपया खर्चा करते थे, कहाँ करते थे? आज कहाँ करते हो? 10 साल बाद कहाँ करते हो? You will automatically get an answer to it. But it is very clear, 1 trillion to 4 trillion जो हुआ economy, that was contributed by some sectors. You can analyze which sectors contributed. From 4 trillion to 8 trillion, some very different sectors will contribute to that. And I would say that wealth and asset managers would play a big role because India में अभी भी अगर आप 100 रुपया कमाते हो ना तो 30-40 तो बचा ही लेते हो. उसका करोगे क्या? वो हमारे पास ही आएगा, you know. So in some way, you know, some would be following the tech platform कि भाई do it yourself. आपको कोई advisor नहीं चाहिए, हम खुद ही कर लेंगे. Technology has said healthcare, huge opportunity using technology, you know. Fintech, we are already seeing it. अभी कौन पर मेरे पास तो पर्स ही नहीं है, and I don't need it. सबको you can Google Pay or Paytm or whatever you want to do it, you know. वो तो टिप भी आजकल लेते हैं इस पे, you know. So your usage itself is showing you how it will change. AI, I think, is going to be very powerful, but it is still early days. आने दो, काफ़ी कंपनियाँ आएगी. I frankly right now don't know any company which has a very established business model of making money in AI. Everyone is experimenting. हमारा व्यू है बॉस सबको एक्सपेरिमेंट कर लें दो, हम 2-3 गुना भाव हो जाएगा तो लेंगे, चलेगा. लेकिन when we are sure, तो 5 सीढ़ी चढ़ो, 2 उतरो, 5 चढ़ के 10 मत उतरो. But someone might say, okay, you know, I am willing to experiment and take that call.
So the kind of changes that we foresee in the Indian economy, you think India, and with India becoming manufacturing economy in time to come, you think India can become trade surplus? Or it's too far away to think?
मैंने सोचा भी नहीं है बॉस. And I am a long-term investor, but इतना भी लंबा नहीं हुआ.
Anyway, I loved it. I loved the pun. मैंने एक बहुत पुरानी पिक्चर देखी थी, नया दौर. I'm sure it was unintended. No, I couldn't help but.
I'm trying to tell I'm not that old.
Anyway, I've seen that movie multiple times. It's actually a nice movie. I have a couple of questions more, but I think we'll do a different. Let's ask if audience would like to ask a few questions. ठीक है, कई बार होता है कि पैनल बोलता है ऑडियंस कुछ पूछो, फिर हम वेट करते हैं, कोई हाथ उठाएगा, शायद पूछेगा, नहीं पूछेगा, कुछ शर्मा जाते हैं, किसी को पता नहीं होता, कुछ सीपी नहीं करना विश्वास रखते. बट सच इफ ऑडियंस वुड लाइक टू इंटरेक्ट विद द पैनल, दिस इज अ ग्रेट टाइम. सुनील जी का अपॉइंटमेंट लेने के लिए या धीरज जी का अपॉइंटमेंट, किसी का मेरा भी अपॉइंटमेंट लेने के लिए बहुत टाइम लगता है. देखो तो अभी मौका है, यदि कुछ पूछना पूछ लो, वरना आई हैव माय क्वेश्चंस रेडी. एनीवन इन द ऑडियंस वुड लाइक टू and say something, not an ask, say something. या मुझे ये लगता है कि यार पॉइंट जमा नहीं है. Anyone? Yeah. साबू जी.
Hello, Sunil ji. Sunil ji, you just now mentioned that US economy sometime, maybe not sure 5 years, 10 years, but it will tumble.
May. It may.
It may. So, question is, suppose if you are saying that as an Indian or Indian economy, what should be the guardrail for investors in India?
So if there is trouble in the US economy, how it will impact us?
What steps we can take to protect our wealth?
See, one thing is very clear, that in the near term, there is obviously impact because the world is integrated. But I think as we grow in size, the resilience increases. And again, take some real life example. India-Pakistan went into a conflict. After 1971, it was the first time where we were shooting each other's planes. There was no impact on rupee. There was no impact on Indian interest rates. You know, agar ye pehle hota na, both would have gone for a toss. You know, so I think the resilience increases as the size of the economy grows, and as we become more and more, I would say, how does balance in terms of managing everything. Our fiscal deficit is in control. Our current account deficit is in control. We are not like 1991 where we had to pledge our gold because we did not have foreign exchange. Foreign exchange reserves are $700 billion. And I think at some point of time, leadership globally will change. If you read the history of financial markets in the world, last 400 years, every century the leadership changes. And I think I'm very sure the way now every country is standing up against the US, like China, because they are now such a large economy, pehle nahi kar sakte the. I think that will also happen. So I am not unduly worried about the medium-term impact, but yes, in the near term, if anything major were to happen to a large economy, then there will be an issue. As far as what we can do, I think the government is already doing it. Fiscal prudence is the only way of doing it. See, one thing which we forget, amidst all this mess, for India, there is so much positive happening. And you know, you might take my words or comments with a little bit of pinch of salt, because मैं तो 25-30 साल से हरदम positive ही रहा हूँ. But अभी है oil. Oil is down to $63. When the world is fighting, now this is the biggest positive which can happen to India. I think first time, आप तो सब बॉम्बे में रहते हो, हमारा बिजली का बिल मई में पहली बार नीचे हुआ rate. First time, at least till I started paying, till my father was paying, I was not checking. But since I was paying, this is the first time that electricity rates have come down. I think power cost saving for Indian corporates, for Indians, for the government, you know, lower import bill because of lower, fuel cost. I think it can be a big positive. To somewhere like what has happened with India, US and China last night, it will shift the attention of Trump to completely China. And to balance, maybe the deal with India might happen much faster than what we were expecting. तो मैं तो है ना हर चीज़ में है ना पॉजिटिव ढूंढता हूँ, और मैं भी आपको भी यही बोलूँगा कि सब ज़्यादा नेगेटिव मत सोचो बॉस. जो सबका होगा, एक 3 Idiots है ना, 3 Idiots देखा है ना, अगेन आई एम कमिंग टू, वो नया पिक्चर है
नया सर.
3 Idiots में रिजल्ट आता है और 2 दोस्त होते हैं आमिर खान के, वो देखते हैं उसका नाम नहीं दिखता है तो दुखी हो जाते हैं कि हमारा दोस्त फेल हो गया. फिर उसका नाम फर्स्ट दिखता है तो ज़्यादा दुखी हो जाते हैं. तो दोस्त फेल होता है तो दुख होता है, फर्स्ट आता तो ज़्यादा दुख होता है. आई थिंक अल्टीमेटली वेल्थ इज ऑल्सो अगर सबका पैसा लग गया ना तो दुख नहीं होगा. बट सबका बन गया और आपका नहीं बना ना, तो बहुत दुख होगा.
Yep. Thank you so much. Yeah, there's some hands there. जिसकी आवाज बुलंद है बिना माइक के बोल दो, वरना माइक मंगा लो. एक बार खड़े हो जाओ. Anybody ask, if you stand, it becomes easy for the person to identify and get the mic. Oh, there.
I just wanted to check up, with AI coming in, will it create a problem to create the Indian middle class? The demographic benefit with what we are talking, will it become more difficult with job losses and everything?
Impact of AI on employment and thereafter all the other implications thereof, है ना? ऐसे कुछ ना?
Yeah.
I'll give you the Indian context there. I think your context is Indian, not global.
Say only Indian context.
Only Indian context. Okay, great. I think it's a very good question. Sunil just mentioned when we had first time in 1980s computers coming to India, we all felt that they will take the jobs, and now we know on hindsight that how computers have created so many jobs in India. So my take is that AI is once in a century kind of a revolution. It will have a lasting impact on the world, but it will go to its multiple phases. So initially we will see euphoria, then it will plateau, then there will be a correction, then the use cases will do well. I don't see a significant risk on the jobs in India. In fact, it can lead to a lot of job creation, quality job creations in India, and I am very positive about the AI.
In fact, just to add, I think it's a very good point both Sunil and Dhiraj made, is that what we are seeing, and since I've been involved in in the education space, and I meet a lot of young kids, you're seeing, and like if any of you saw Sridhar Vembu's interview recently, he speaks about how in villages like Tenkasi and so on, the young kids are so much smarter and so much more entrepreneurial. So maybe we'll switch from the services-led model which we had for 15, 20 years, where 60-70% of the large engineering campuses or even the MBA schools were all supplying kids into Cognizant and Infosys and TCS and so on, to actually more value-added, creating businesses, which I think is very positive for our economy if it happens. And I see that in very young kids today. One, they are significantly better risk takers when they are smaller because of, the generational shift that has had. They have more security than maybe we had in the 90s or 80s. And I think that shift is very positive for the economy, because you're going to create things than only service offshore related jobs for someone. And if that really takes off, which I think AI can, because the speed of adoption is so much faster and so much quicker. So it's very exciting, but it's all that hockey stick. It's starting to turn. And since Sunil has made all of us wear a positive cap now, so I'm thinking more positively than I was a few minutes ago.
I converted one.
Exactly.
So, yep.
Okay, thank you.
So, boss, I'll give you my own personal example of AI. So when AI came, I was sure that I'm going to fire half my staff. So सब खुद AI से कर लूँगा. And then I started coding on AI. From last 1 month, I created codes, and I've started actually distributing codes to a few of my friends, if anybody's used those tools. And to do that, to run it, I had to hire 5 more people. All right? So it is just creation. अब मतलब यदि मेरे पास 10 बंदे हैं, क्या काम करूँगा, तो झाड़ू पोछा कर दे. लेकिन AI के साथ तो ये कर सकता हो. It's my personal experience I'm sharing. The thing, dunya will change. Anything that was a constraint for you, AI will take care of that. You can just go, thought, you'll move ahead. I think AI would actually we'll need more people. We'll have more goods and services. And the basic GDP is sum of goods and services produced, right? If that goes up, GDP goes up, everybody earns out of it. If you earn, then you'll pay more. For the skilled guys will earn more. The skilled guys will employ the unskilled guys. They will earn more, and life will go on. बहुत कमा रहे हो तो एक की जगह 3 ड्राइवर रखोगे. So चलेगा दोस्त. It doesn't look that bad, but yeah. Dina Ben.
Good afternoon, sir.
Just 1 minute, Dina Ben first. Achha, okay, please. Haan.
Good afternoon, sir. My question to all the panel members, like we are seeing the money flow into mutual fund industry last 4 to 5 years. But this is happening after the COVID. Before COVID, we are not seeing the mutual fund industry growing money flow into equity market. But retail investors not face any crisis after the COVID scenario. But COVID-like scenario happened in 1 or 2 years. What is the market sentiments, retails? As you are the MD and CEO of the AOMC, you will transfer assets to different asset class like instruments, debt markets, or sale of the asset classes.
So asset management companies invest based on the mandate they get. If you are giving mandate to asset management company to invest into large cap fund, they will invest in large cap fund only and not move the asset to the other asset classes. So that's very clear in terms of mandate piece. About the flows, my take is that flows in the mutual fund will continue. The structure, the construct of the mutual fund is so efficient that people have to invest in this as a vehicle. You have tax advantages. You also have expertise at very nominal cost coming to you. It's completely digital, completely accessible. So the kind of benefit it brings on the table, there is no other vehicle that brings in this kind of a benefit on the table as compared to the asset management ecosystem, mutual fund ecosystem.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Actually, I just wanted to put forward an observation which I have been seeing, and since it is BSE Brokers Forum, and the role of broker is changing. I think that is something that we all need to be sensitive enough, because if you look traditionally, it has been a transaction, facilitating transaction for the customers. But today there are two kinds of customers. One is the customer wants advice, and the second is the customer wants technology. He will run away. Today Zerodha is there because it is essentially a big technology success, I would say. So, we as brokers, I think would, of course, the big guys will go to Sunil Singhania, his ticket size could be 1 crore or whatever. But there are whole lot of people, and when we are talking positive, the per capita income is going to double. We are talking about a $5,000 if we are talking about, and at least each person would have 4 to 5 lakh rupees surplus to be invested. And to satisfy those kind of people, I think lot of investments brokers will have to make in themselves, in the kind of services which they offer. And fortunately, the third generation which is joining, I think their entire focus would be on advisory rather than, the kind of business we have been doing. Or you go the technology route, which is which you said that you are designing so many softwares, and that would help people. So I think this kind of shift we all need to be conscious about and prepare ourselves, and I think the time has already caught up. This had to be done yesterday. So how soon we can do it and really enhance our skills, that is one big challenge which is there in front of the entire community.
I can take that.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
So, Veena ma'am, thank you very much for asking this question or having this observation. I think person of your stature, experience can only come out with this kind of an observation. You are very right that there are phases. We've seen the technology has democratized the investments in India, and we could able to get onboard many new customers, give them an easy to use platform. Discount brokers have played their role. But you are absolutely right, that kind of challenges we are facing at this juncture, we need to reinvent how we add value as brokers to the customers. Brokers are no more just, customers are no more just looking at execution only platform. They are not even bothered about only the execution cost. They also need a credible advice so that they can create wealth in the long term. And that's where we'll have to reinvent ourselves. Broking, distribution of mutual funds, distribution of other asset classes will also have to be part and parcel of the overall service for all possible brokers. We'll have to more behave like, people who help them to take the right kind of decisions, help them to keep optimizing those decisions also, not just the execution piece of it. And I think that's where we have to play a larger role. And next 10 years, 20 years, that's the role we have to play. One more last point I want to make is that right now, one challenge that we are facing is that there is an exuberance and higher expectations in terms of performance of the market. All new investors who have come to the markets haven't seen corrections, and they are all expecting the market to compound at higher percentage, 15, 20%. That's not going to happen. So we have to, as a broker, play a very important role to also moderate the expectations of our customers.
Yeah, but personally, बहुत धंधा है बस. It's a big country with lots of people. You want to be a mass player, you can be a mass player. You want to be a niche player, you need 5 HNIs to really run a profitable business, frankly speaking. If you can give them top service in whatever way they want. Alright, so, and rahi baat, people say we out of a population of 1.5 billion people, we are penetrated so low. Well, they are wrong. The population is 8 billion. Alright? It's the entire world out there to capture. Everybody can be customers. We have traveled throughout the world. Everywhere there is interest in India. Kaise invest karo? Mr. Jack, Mr. Sparrow, saw what I did there. But there's so much scope. Do a good business, and finally, Dhiraj, that's the beautiful thing. Am I adding value to my customer's life? If as an intermediary, as a business provider, मैं तुम्हारे कुछ काम आ रहा हूँ, तो उसका पैसा मुझे मिलेगा. Okay, that's what a businessman does. He adds value to his customers, and he gets profits for that. As long as we add value to our customers, it has to be running business. Yeah? We are going to do well, and the cake is just increasing crazily. And the cake, we are in a very good generation to be. We're just at the right place at the right time, at least our generation. आगे वालों को पता नहीं. अच्छा ही होगा, positive बात करनी है. Anyways, so with that, I request all panelists, last 1 minute, we are fellow market intermediaries. Anything you want to say in the 60 seconds, give or take, whatever. Anything you want to say as just closing remark? Positive, negative, सुधर जाओ, अरे सही काम करते रहो, whatever, just open.
I think my one-liner is, our best is yet to come in the India, and also as a intermediaries, our best is yet to come.
Yeah, I'm super excited about, I think lovely points that was made, that was wonderful. And I think that the real solution sits between all of us need to be significantly better quality advisors to our customers, for sure. We need to understand, and I think wealth was looked at only returns for a long time, really understanding what that person intends to do, and that dimension of thinking what actually, I'm just starting to read Morgan Housel's new book. It's called The Art of Spending Money. The previous one he wrote was Psychology of Money. But this one is really beautiful because it explains why it's an art and it's not a science, right? And therefore, everyone has got different needs, different desires, different this thing. And what AI will allow us to do is really map that dimension of thinking to what potential returns that person wants. And will, in that sense, price and risk adequately. And for us to educate our customers today is so much easier than it was before. Just because of, you can create a video podcast, you can create customized content, you can hyper-personalize some of this communication, and you can do that at scale that we were not able to do before. So what you could do with 10 customers, you can just replicate with 10 million, which I think is phenomenal. And earlier technology was seen as execution technology. I think in the coming years, we'll marry this technology to advisory. And I really hope that businesses like Dhiraj's and mine, we've historically focused on advice. I hope we'll be able to scale that in the coming years much, much more. And wishing you all a very happy Diwali as well.
So I'll just put it a little differently. One is equity investing is all about being positive. So if you're positive about the future, then invest in equity, frankly. If you're not positive, you should not invest, because then you will not have that patience, particularly in times of some event which will lead to you entering and exiting at the wrong time. So that would be one thing. Just be positive. If you are positive, then invest in equity market. The other thing which is a little different from what you asked, but see, you also have to understand how economies change. We are predominantly a service economy. Why is that so? Because huge wealth was created since 1990s by these services companies. And obviously when huge wealth is created by these services companies, entrepreneurs want to be in that because they want to create wealth. And investors also want to give money to entrepreneurs in that segment. And therefore there was this huge boom of services. Now things are changing. IT services companies are not creating wealth. On the other hand, high-tech companies, whether it is defense, drone, they are coming up. Manufacturing companies are getting huge valuations. And as a result of which, there are entrepreneurs who are coming into niche manufacturing. There are investors who are willing to invest in these manufacturing companies. So automatically, this Make in India, which you said, will happen because ultimately market cap drives entrepreneurs and also drives investors. So I think in India, that ecosystem, we are already seeing it on the ground. And risk capital is available in plenty. When we launch a listed fund, listed equity fund, it takes time for us to fill the fund. We launched a private equity fund last year with no experience of private equity. In 1 week, the fund was closed. That is the kind of appetite which people have in private, which is good. You have to be careful, don't invest in anything and everything, but which is good because the ecosystem allows entrepreneurs to take that risk because funding is available. So I think just be positive, and if you're positive, invest in equity markets.
All right. With that, calling this session to a close. Thank you, audience. I hope it was interesting. Everybody's awake, everybody's nodding their head, so ek aur taali baja do, so just... So a group photograph of the panel would be in order. Anup bhai, could you join us?
While we are at it, Uttam, mementos ka bhi, while we are at it.
बाल नहीं है मेरे यार।
ऑफिस बेयर्स ऑफ BBF, हम आपसे काम कराते हैं, बदले में तो फोटो खिंचवा सकते हैं। Come, Dhiraj, please come. Come. Yeah, BBF board member. Are you Saurabh? Yeah. This is, I think, 2 lines. That side. One can move that side. Kushal, come this side.
You can stand behind, right, on the chair. Yeah, perfect. Yes, smile all of you. Smile. जितना स्माइल करेगा मार्केट ऊपर जाएगा।
So friends, that were the members of the BBF board. So anybody is wearing this is a member of BBF board. यदि कोई भी तकलीफ हो, कुछ भी हो, गाली गलौज करना हो, you know where to find us.
May I request Anupji to give a memento of a token of our love, respect and admiration to Sunilji.
Front plate, smile.
Yeah. Uttam ji, will you please give to Pranav ji? Uttam ji will do the honors for Mr. Relli. Anuj ji, please give to Rajiv. So, friends, with this we now we break for tea for 15 minutes. Okay. We now break for tea and some refreshments. Please be back. Please be back at 4. We have some interesting times ahead of us. A long evening, not to be missed. See you soon.